Hi, y'all. Good evening, good night, good morning to some of you in other places. Trying to find some ambiance. I had a long, wonderful day. Let's start there. I had a long, wonderful day. Um, Took Shad to the vet. Come to find out his appointment is not until next Tuesday. So that was a debacle. So I'm sneezing stuck. So um I was just thinking about something for the past couple of weeks, right? Well, I've kind of like started having. Why is YouTube giving me a commercial as soon as I log in? I don't care. So, I've been having this continuous thought, welcome viewer, about love and self love, right? And the more I think about it, the more, not like the more I wonder, but the more deeper that the rumination gets. Like, the thought of self love, loving yourself, takes me to other thoughts about, okay, so how do you love yourself? How do one love themselves? Because I think about when people say you can't, until you can love yourself, you can't love anyone else, or you can't love anyone else until you love yourself. I think people say that loosely because I don't understand how how that makes sense. So basically I've been trying to make this shit make sense. Let me see. Let me see if I can put this up here. Put that like that. Okay. How do we measure self-love? So I took some notes so I could stay on point with y'all as much as I can. How do we know if we're closer to loving ourselves? This is gonna be a long video. How do we know if we're closer to loving ourselves? How do we know if and when do we start to love ourselves? How are these things determined? And then also the other question is, hi viewer, the other question is, how can somebody else tell you if you love yourself or not? And it's so funny to me too, is because whenever I was battling like a failed relationship or disappointment from a relationship, where a person that I may be in love with or have love for or care about. And this is intimate relationships. I'm not talking about with family and friends and stuff. People be like, well, you can't love anybody until you love yourself. And that was like the standing point of advice that people give you. And I used to always wonder, what the fuck does that even mean? And I knew back then that it wasn't like I didn't like myself, but I didn't understand my worth. I didn't understand how valuable I feel myself to be now for myself. Like, so I kind of understand part of that now is like, but there's some holes in that. There's some gaps that need to be filled. Hopefully we could try to fill some of those gaps today. And then I'm going to bring up some other topics that relate to just on the precipice of talking about this, that might be useful to think about. So how about we start with what ways do we show that we love ourselves or express love for ourselves? I think everybody expresses their love for themselves differently. Some people show or express the love of themselves by doing their hair and makeup, getting a haircut, getting shaved, wearing nice clothes all the time, cleaning up, having OCD, like overly cleaning their space, driving nice, expensive cars. So that's one way, okay, to value yourself and to love yourself. There's nothing wrong with that. Then there's some people, well, I would probably be in this category, that love themselves so much they don't care if their hair is done or not. They don't care if they have a nappy beard. They don't care. And I think sometimes what that has to do is like, you know, they don't care about being in the struggle basically. And they're content with things being a certain way. Like they're content with going outside in a 10-year-old hoodie that's faded and got holes in it. They're content with, you know, wearing their hair nappy. They're content with, you know, so there's that part. That's how I see it. I think the misconception comes in is like, some people be like, oh, you know, that person doesn't love themselves. Remember we had this conversation about healthy self-esteem? I think I'm gonna do that video again. But healthy self-esteem, my face is really greasy because I've just been overly moisturizing it. Remember that conversation we had about healthy self-esteem, and that like somebody could sit here and say, for example, look at me and be like, oh, well, your hair is never done, or you don't get your hair professionally done, you don't go out and get, you know, wear makeup and stuff like that, so you must not love yourself, or that I must not love myself, or I might have low self-esteem. I don't think I have low self-esteem, because I feel like there's a difference between high self-esteem, low self-esteem, and healthy self-esteem. Self-esteem, I said in my video before, it starts at home. It starts with the grooming and your nurturing. It's not really about your nature. But having healthy self-esteem, for me, the way I explained it in the video was, it doesn't bother me if I don't get my hair done. I can go a whole year without going to the salon, right? However, for other people, you know, they feel like, well, you should get your hair done because you look better that way, and people will treat you better if you keep, just for example, if you keep up with your hair and your image. But I feel like sometimes when I get my hair done and my nails done and I'm wearing makeup and this, it's like, it's unhealthy. I start to have unhealthy mannerisms, bad etiquette. Like I start to really start feeling myself. I guess that's what you call it, feeling yourself. And that would be unhealthy self-esteem, because it's like, I did all this to make myself feel good, look good, and da-da-da-da, and I'm expecting people to treat me a certain type of way. And if I don't get that response, now I want to have an attitude problem, will be stuck up. So there's that, if that makes sense. You guys are welcome to like put stuff in the comments too. I would hope so, and interact. So loving yourself. Let's shift gears a little bit and hone in more on this. Okay, so I feel like a way that I love myself is it started for me with accepting and acknowledging my faults, my failures, my flaws. It started with that. It didn't start on the outward about the way I viewed myself or what I thought people thought of me. It was more so based off of like acknowledging where I done fucked up at. Because sometimes, and what led me there is so crazy, is because like my relationship with people and friends and in society and in life, hello viewer, is that it was like, why do people always want to hurt me? Why do people, you know, pick fights and arguments with me? And what did I do? What did I do? So I start to look at myself. And remember the common denominator of all issues. So around that time, I started looking at myself, because, you know, I had a rhema that, you know, somebody had said that. I forget who said it, where I heard it from, but I just remember somebody was like, if you have an issue in every single relationship, there's an actual phrase for it, like it's an actual quote, but I don't know what it is. But basically it's the factor, the common factor, the sum of all, you are the sum of all your problems. I think that's it. Sum, S-U-M, like math. You are the sum of all your problems, or everything you go through, you're the sum of all your problems. So in each issue in life, you're the common denominator. You're the main constant in these patterns. So I started to look at myself and be like, okay, well, if I'm the main problem, so maybe I fucked up because I wasn't listening. Maybe I fucked up because I was talking too much. Maybe I fucked up because I said the wrong thing to the wrong person at the wrong time. Maybe I fucked up because I knew better. Maybe I fucked up because I didn't know better. Well, how can I correct this? How can I learn this? So it started there with that. Now, with that, it became for me like a form of perfectionism. Hello, viewer. It became a form of perfectionism for me. Because I'm like, how can I do better and be better so I can be respected better? How can I do better, think better, be better so I can get better results when dealing with people and dealing with the world and dealing with life? What can I do better? How can I build myself out? So that's basically for me how I feel like self-love started. And let me say this. It's not that I had to learn to love myself. I just didn't know I loved myself, and we're getting there because people will sit here and say because I get so infatuated with relationships and caught up with intimate relationships that I'm looking for something. I'm trying to get something. No, I just like connecting with people. And sometimes an intimate relationship will build out of that, but it's not about that for me. What it's about for me is learning and following patterns. I follow patterns with my life. I follow patterns. Like sometimes I'm connected to people that I don't know why I'm connected to them. They remind me of someone. They remind me of something. They it's a spiritual, I call it spiritual. I see something, a familiarity, a familiar. So that's usually what grapples me into things, and I become obsessed with like how it's like hypnotized. I become obsessed with like the likeness of someone reminding me of something or someone else that I had feelings for, or something about them draws me to them. But it's not always about the other person for me. And this is another part of self-love for me. It's about using this person as a portal. Yeah, using as a portal in this realm to learn something. Because like I always tell you guys, an enemy is another word for the inner me. The inner me. So when I have drama with somebody or somebody picks a fight with me, I try to, like they said, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. This is why. The deeper meaning to that is like I'm going to keep my enemy close just for the purpose of conversation. I don't really deal with enemies, whatever. But I'm going to keep my enemies close so I can learn something about me. Make myself more aware. Okay, so the more I learn about myself and the more I accept my flaws, my faults, and embrace those things about me, the easier it becomes for me to calm down and, hello viewer, to calm down and relax and enjoy things. Enjoy my space. Enjoy company with myself. Enjoy getting work done. Enjoy, because even before, like, even during the times where I was, like, not interested in any intimate relationships and I was healing from certain failed relationships and heartbreaks, even during those times, I still do. I like laying in bed for 2-3 days watching movies by myself and, not eating or eating. I started to pay more attention to my patterns. I started to pay more attention to my patterns of like my emotions. What am I watching that's making me feel this way? What am I listening to that's making me think this? What am I thinking about that's making me feel this way? Stuff like that, patterns like that. And that's when it started to, for me, how I always explain to you guys, like in my spiritual path, I have to learn to take things out of my diet, for example, to see when I take pork out of my diet, how does my body respond? When I take cheese out of my diet, how does my body respond? Excuse me. When I start to drink more tea and take sugar out of my diet, how does my body respond? So all these things, contributed to me feeling self-love, trying to take care of myself and grow. into maturity. So that's a form of accepting, of acceptance. And there's also the part of denying oneself. It seems like sometimes there are people in the world that, and we'll just say the narcissist. I'm not going to go too deep. Hello, viewer. I'm not going to go too deep into what a narcissist is, because if you know, you know. If you don't know, you're going to figure it out, because it's trending all over YouTube. There's books about it. There's ads about it. There's Facebook groups about it, about narcissists. Basically, people who are so self-absorbed that they take advantage of people and manipulate people. They're gaslighters. They like making people look or make people think that other people are crazy. And it's a narcissist is a person who will throw their hand, like hit you, and then hide their hand and act like they didn't do it. That's a narcissist. So people like that, they like to deny their faults. That's another reason why I brought it up. I brought it up because I'm dealing with a lot of narcissists. Hi, Kenny D. Welcome. Thank you for stopping in. So another reason why, because I've been witnessing a lot of narcissism lately, not even just in my life, but in other people's lives as well, that we talk about, like, this person said this and did this and this whole story, and they were just being toxic, and they didn't want to admit that they was wrong. They want to deny that they was wrong, or they want to go to level 10, and then when you go to level 10 or go to level 20 to react to their bullshit, to react to their anger, to get on their frequency and vibration, they can't handle it. Like, they don't understand. The narcissist doesn't understand, like, when you threw my food away and didn't apologize for it, I went and threw your food away. And now that I threw your food away, you want to start throwing dishes, you want to hit me, you want to do this. That, like, I don't understand why people deny themselves of their flaws and their faults. I don't understand. How do you not remember doing some effed up shit? Or how do you keep apologizing for doing the same thing over and over again? And you thinking just because you said you were sorry that that's going to fix everything. No, because you were sorry the first time you did it. I forgave you. You were sorry the second time you did it. Hello, viewer. You were sorry the second time you did it. I forgave you. And now we at time 15 and I'm going to 10, 20, and 30 and you can't handle it. But you're not realizing this is a reaction to something you started. Stay away from those people, trust me. Sometimes we're not self-aware. Even I'm guilty of that. Like, sometimes we're not self-aware enough to be like, okay, well, I fucked up. Or sometimes we're not self-aware and we don't care that we messed up, or in certain ways, because we didn't intend to hurt the person. We didn't intend to hide, or lie or cheat or steal, or we didn't intend to. So another form of denial is like, I'm sorry that I fucked up. I didn't intend to fuck up, but I fucked up. But you don't want to deny it because you want to deny it because it wasn't your intention. You didn't intend to hurt that person, basically. I want to move forward a little bit so we don't sit here too long. But I want to look up the definition of loyalty. Loyalty versus faithfulness. Okay, let's see. Define loyalty. Define loyalty.
Here's the definition of loyalty. The quality of being loyal.
Oh, I did it wrong. Define loyal.
Here's the definition of loyal. Giving or showing firm and constant support or allegiance to a person or institution.
Giving or showing firm and constant support or allegiance to a person or institution. So let's talk about that. Giving or showing firm and constant support or allegiance to a person or institution. So I always say this, I combat with this. This is another thing that when I was, like I said, I was ruminating on the term self-love. Hello, viewer. Thanks for joining. So when I was ruminating, another one that I ruminate on is loyalty. I think I mentioned to you guys this before. It's like, I don't think loyalty has anything to do with being stuck up somebody's ass sometimes. I think it's just about, and part of this definition, yes. But I can have a pact with somebody, a soul pact, a path pact, like a agreement to, okay, I want to be successful. I want to be successful too. So let's make a pact that we're both going to be successful. We're going to take our time to do those things, okay? So when two come in agreement, Christ is near. Universal shifts happen. So when two or more come in agreement, it's magical, right? I don't understand how you have to be like glued to somebody or something, or always agree with something in order to be considered loyal. A lot of young people, hello viewer, I'm not gonna say young people, a lot of people throw that word loyal around. How am I gonna be loyal to somebody I don't know? That takes time. That's something that builds. Hello, Prima. Loyalty is something that I feel like has to be built, not earned or anything. It's something you build, and it's a mutual process. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean just because one person is loyal in the situation doesn't mean, doesn't mean that it's not being built. You know what I mean? Like, it's a mutual process. So we're both involved. We're both getting to know each other, or we're both trying to build something, or we're both reaching for a goal. So we're being loyal to that. But say, for example, if someone veers off, doesn't mean that one person is not being, doesn't mean the other person is not going to stay loyal and stay involved, right? So if one person fucks up, I can still, if this other person I'm fucking with fucks up and is being disloyal, doesn't mean my loyalty has to change or my loyalty changes, if that makes sense. So I think people use the word loyalty a lot when it comes to relationships and dating and, for example, in real life, people will hear, I will express and share. I know people be like, too much information. I don't give a fuck. No such thing to me as too much information. But there's information you just don't want to fucking know. But somebody, some people will be like, oh, so you don't seem loyal. Like, there was some quote going around on Facebook, oh, females got to be solid and all this other stuff. And that's not a man or a female thing. That's a person thing. That's a human thing. I said, so is tuna. Tuna's solid. Because, like, how you going to be clinked down with somebody you don't know? Like, I just met you 2 weeks ago, and you're screaming at the top of your lungs that I'm hanging out with other people, but you don't want a relationship with me yet. We're not even fucking yet. And you want to throw words like loyal around. It's like, I've only known you for 2 weeks. I've only known you for a month. I've only known you for 3 months. So there shouldn't be a question of loyalty involved in that moment because it has nothing to do with that. We have to build that, and that takes time. Now, I want to look up the other word, faithful. Because I think when people say the word loyal, they mean faithful. But they said another word for loyalty is faithfulness. Define faithful.
Here's the definition of faithful. Remaining loyal and steadfast.
Throughout his career, he remained faithful to the principles of classical art. Loyal, constant, true. Devoted, true blue, true-hearted, unswerving, unwavering. Yeah, that's the word they mean. Is faithful. It's faithful. Not loyalty. I think that's more of the word that people use because they feel like, oh, because you went and moved on with somebody else after the failed relationship or after somebody done fucked up in a situation, we want to move on, that you're not being loyal. Or if the relationship didn't end, I think we probably mean, I'm going to say we probably mean to use the word faithful, not loyal. But considering this. How can we love ourselves while we love others? I'm starting to feel like, or I'm starting to ponder that we need to have more self-faithfulness. A monogamous relationship with self. You write that down. That's deep, y'all. A monogamous relationship with self. I just came up with that off the top. I'm just writing it on the screen. So a monogamous relationship with self. I think is a form of self-love. Now, going on the fly, right? Following the energy with this. The reason why I think a monogamous relationship with self is a term that we should practice or study, like within, in our spare time, or ponder or ruminate, is because it's better than saying I love myself. You need to I think you should just have a relationship with yourself, with ourselves, with myself. Because even when I'm dating intimate partners or getting to know other people, I have to remember this is not always about them. This is not always about their journey. But it's about my journey. I chose to deal with this person. I chose to be in this situation. A lot of things in life is choices. They're not necessarily like, oh, I have no choice but to do this. There are those things that are fixed points of like you have no choice but to do what you have to do to get by. But for me, I feel like, and we're just having a conversation. For me, I'm starting to feel like, because sometimes in my past, and y'all know me, y'all know I've done some silly things and I've made certain mistakes, and people will be like, oh, why'd you decide to do that? Why did you decide to go there? Why did you decide to buy that? Why did you decide to do this? And it's like, because you can't see what I see. We're all experts on our own experience. Experience is the best teacher. And through experience, I learned that if I do something this way, I get a better result. It may not work for you. What works for you may not work for everyone else, So for me, I don't explain myself a lot. I don't, because a lot of the decisions I make is based off of things that I've been through. Is based off of hello viewer. It's based off of things that I've been through. It's based off of experience that I've had to come to this conclusion about why I do things a certain way, or what results I'm trying to cultivate in certain patterns. So for example, when I was engaged to the guy in Texas that I dated online, we met online and we were together or whatever, right? A lot of people was like, oh, you don't know if he's a real person, and he could be a crazy person, a serial killer, because he lives in another state. And I'm like, well, that's what webcams are for, and and stuff like that, video chat and stuff like that. People didn't understand. People didn't understand this shit back in 2006. They really didn't. I did. So people like, why'd you go to Texas? Why'd you do this? Why'd you do that? Because when I went to Texas, it wasn't about him. It wasn't about him. He was the catalyst. He was the catalyst to finding myself and overcoming something. He was the catalyst for me to overcome a fear. He was the catalyst to teach me that love is true, that love exists, that, we have deeper connections than being in somebody's face. We have deeper connections than just humping on somebody. We have deeper. So it wasn't about him. So it was always, people were always asking me that question, why'd you go with him? And why'd you go see him? And why'd you go see him? And why'd you go? This is why I can't explain to you. Because from my experience and my fears and things that I've been through, it was something I had to conquer. It was something this brings me back to a monogamous relationship with self. So when it didn't work out with him, people thought they had the last laugh, but I let them think that. I let y'all think that y'all had the last laugh about that situation because I know why I went down there. I know what happened when I went down there. I know what happened when I came back. I know what happened before I left. And same thing about when I was going to move to Georgia. Like, all these things, like, there's reasons why I'm not going to go too deep into why and, things that, but I'm just saying, though, so even when, basically I'm going to leave with this. Even when intimate relationships with other people, you can't forget about yourself. I wrote an insight. I shared it with you all. It's also going to be in the Autopilot book. It's also going to be in the book Autopilot, this insight about love. Like, and it's more like a question. I know I'll be getting all philosopher on you all, but the inner question is, can we love other people while we love ourselves? How can we, or does loving ourselves come at the expense of loving other people? So do we lose ourselves when we love other people? Most of us, through our experiences, I think we can agree that most likely is a yes, but not in all cases. But it's probably a yes, because when you focused on the two and not the one, if you didn't focus on the one first and then you just start focusing on the two. For example, like high school sweethearts. They've been together till they're 60, 80 years old, whatever. They're high school sweethearts. They never experienced anything else but each other, really, right? And they can be content with that because you don't know what you don't know. So you can be content with that. However, if you get with your high school sweetheart, and then at some point you start to realize you want to know what you don't know. So you want to experience these other things. And when you experience these, when you end up having to leave the relationship to experience these other things? Most likely, a lot of the times, yeah. So divorces happen. When you got married when you was young, because you didn't experience life. You didn't get to try other things because you were kind of stuck in this little box, for example. And these are just thoughts about, like, in the rumination. These are like fleeting thoughts in the rumination. So in that insight eyes, can we love ourselves and love other people at the same time? And the thing is a lot of healthy people would say, like, emotionally well, spiritually in tuned, emotionally aware people would probably like, I would love myself more. I would choose myself more than choosing another person over my happiness, over my life experience, my life path, my ambitions, my progression. And there's some people who will sacrifice themselves for the other being. And that happens. But I'm noticing in my experience, I couldn't choose both at once. That's why when I would get into a relationship with somebody, they would inspire me to get things done. They would inspire me to do art and write poems and, creatively express myself, make myself better. It was off the precipice of other people other relationships, other interactions, other connections that catapulted me into loving myself more. So you can't have one without the other, I feel like, because this is a human experience. And, even if you live live in the mountains somewhere in the bush by yourself, there's still some way to interact with other humans in some way, whether it be through technology, whether it be through even meditation. Like, you came out of somebody. So you had a connection in your human experience. You had a connection by being inside of someone's womb. And that was a relationship that started. That's the first part. That's the first relationship you ever experienced, is being in your mother's womb. Whether y'all have a relationship when, after you're born, or relationship today, whatever, but you've experienced other human to human contact. So it's impossible to be here and not have a human to human contact ever in your life. So let's just say that. It's not even natural to be like, I say like that. You can spend times in isolation, but for a whole lifetime, it's going to be impossible. You're still going to have to interact with people. So that's how I look at it. And if I'm wrong, let me know. Let me know what y'all think about that. You know what I mean? If I'm wrong, let me know. But this is just a conversation. So I feel like eyes, peers, relationship, peers, a form of friends. These are words, wordplay. I relate to peer. I relate to peer. Eyes. Pair of eyes. I relate to pair of eyes. Portal. To find myself, learn about myself, to teach myself, to grow myself, to nurture myself, to comfort myself. All these things. But yeah, I'm ready to have dinner, y'all. I've had a long but productive day. And I'm excited to start the new year. I'm excited to start this new journey with my craft. I hope you guys continue to check me out, and I love seeing I love the way my news feed looks on Facebook. I love the stuff that people are posting. It's keeping me engaged, and it's keeping me wanting to keep interacting with the app. As far as you know me, I usually take social media breaks and stay the hell away from people. But I made some old connections. Shout out to those people. I made some new connections on Facebook. Shout out to those people. And I'm very grateful that, I learned what I needed to learn when I was in my high school days, my heydays. Okay. So then I went and isolated. Okay. Did that. And then I introduced people back into my life. And then I realized why I don't really fucks with people like that. And why I stopped going to parties, why I stopped doing it. So I realized those things. So, but I had to, like I said, even with food, I had to wean these things out of my system and then introduce them back slowly to recognize what was happening to me through those things, including people, including relationships, including sociality. And I feel like now, let me say this too, like, sometimes I have this feeling like maybe I wasted a lot of time in my life playing around, goofing around with life because I didn't care, or whatever feeling I was having. Let's say I didn't care, I wasn't aware, didn't want to be aware, didn't give a fuck. So I spent a lot of time like, I could have been doing this my life now. I could have been doing this years ago. But bringing it back to spirit, and I feel like now's the time. I had to wait. Maybe I was ahead of myself. Like, for example, my book came out and it was talking a lot about suicidal thoughts, self-harm, trauma, abuse, things that I've been through. And it got shelved after like the first 2 years. It got shelved for like 8 years because people were not ready for it. They didn't understand it. People didn't understand what mental health was. People didn't understand what suicidal thoughts were. People didn't understand what self-abuse was, trauma, post-traumatic stress disorder. People didn't understand that when I first wrote my book. People didn't understand it. People didn't know what that was. People used to laugh at me because I used to tell them, I wasn't feeling good. Hello, viewer. People used to laugh at me and make fun of me and stuff like that because of my experiences and what I've been through. And so now it's like the same people that was laughing at me are now going through mental health challenges and trauma and recognizing that they were abused. And so I feel like everything happens for a reason. And I feel like my gift had to be shelved, or my gift had to be expressed at an appointed time. So, like I said, I may be late, but I'm coming. But also, I have more control as an adult of what I'm able to do. With a more control of adult decisions to do in my life. Now, I don't have a parent or a guardian over my shoulder saying you can't do this, you can't do that, you got to come home at this time, you got to get off the line, you got to get off the phone, you got to get off this, you can't post that, you got to wear this, you can't wear that, you can't say this, you can't do that. See, so even though I grew up with a 1998 compact computer desktop in my house, you think that a 6-year-old should be streaming and having a social media life and being affected by social media and trying to cope with being successful with pressures of social media, some shit like that? Think that's appropriate for a 6-year-old? Do you think it's appropriate for a 12-year-old? Do you think that is appropriate for a 20-year-old that still lives at home with their parents who ain't paying no bills? Who ain't got a job, who can't afford to buy a phone, who can't afford to pay for internet? Do you think it's appropriate? Or do you think it's acceptable? So I feel like, I'm late, but right on time at the same time. Because past, present, and future, time works all simultaneously. But I'm glad we had this talk, y'all, because I'm trying to build up an appetite because my mouth wants food. My body doesn't need it, but my mouth wants it. I'm looking forward to eating something that I made, and I don't want it to go to waste. So that would suck. So I'm glad we had this chat. Just something to think about. Let me know how y'all felt in the comments down below. I love y'all. Y'all are love. Thanks for sitting with me. Good night.